Hi, I'm FM Sherrill, and today I went my best Tomb Raider gear and watched Lara Croft in the new Tomb Raider. I used to play the video games, well, not used to, I still play, but I played the first one, and then I've seen all of the movies since they came out. Because I'm a big superhero fan, I've always liked the Tomb Raider movies because it's basically a superhero but with a female protagonist. And yes, we need more of those. Not just Wonder Woman. You could put Wonder Woman and Lara Croft in a room together and they would totally get along. But I was not particularly happy with this movie. And I like these kind of movies and the games and Lara and the whole Tomb Raider universe. So let's go into it. We'll start off with one thing I did like. My favorite line was at the end, and you'll have to forgive me, this is my first review, so I'm going to be reading from what I typed up. I know that's annoying, but I haven't quite gotten things set up like they're supposed to. But I do make some good points. I've studied writing, I have published novels, I studied archetypes and character development and plot and Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 go-throughs for years and years and years. So I do have some good points from a different perspective if you can deal with the quality and follow me through. And this is all spoilers, so if you haven't seen it yet, spoiled. If you watch this, it's all going to be spoiled. So spoilers. Saying that. My favorite line was when the father is dying at the end and he says, "You're worth 10 of me." I thought that was really sweet. I wish they had established their relationship better so it would have been even sweeter, but that was a sweet line. I like that. So we'll start off with a good point. Something that I realized more towards the end of this film was that this is more of a Lara Croft origins story film. You know, she's not badass yet. She doesn't have her guns, which I love, on both sides of her hip, like some kind of Western archaeologist, Indiana Jones woman. Nope, she doesn't have that. She's not wearing her typical shorts, which I wore, but she's wearing pants, cargo pants, and, you know, not the necessarily the typical green tank top or anything like that. So it's more of like you can see that she's developing into the Lara Croft that we're going to know and love if you can tolerate another film like this one to get there. So this is a getting there film. It starts off with a boxing match and Lara gets her ass handed to her. Afterwards, she's trash talking the girl, which walks by and is like, "Are we good?" And she kind of, Lara kind of retreats and mumbles like, "Oh yeah, we're good, we're totally good, totally good." And that made me like the other girl already a lot better than Lara because she's sassy, she's brave, she, you know, knew what she was doing, and then after she's like, "We good? Like, this is just practice." And she had the cool shaved hair, and I was like, I'm already wanting her to be the main hero. You have to, in writing and in story, you have to like your main protagonist. As an audience member, as a writer, you always want your audience to love them. As an audience member, if you don't love them, you're not going to root for them and you won't care what happens to them. And you have to, as a writer, they have to care about your main character. So already I'm like, I like that girl better. So it was already starting a little bit of a misstep for me, but I was like, whatever. That's cool, let's move on. She ends up doing deliveries, which we only get a little piece of that at the restaurant where there's kind of a flirtation and she's gone. We really don't get to see her like huffing it and how exhausting and crappy working a menial job is. No, she just goes to this super cool place with all these hip people and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna do this race," and she's like, "I'll do it, I'll be the fox." And it's like, okay, all right, well, that's fine. And then she shows off her super biking skills and I'm like, okay, cool. She's Lara Croft. And then she gets hit by a car and paint splatters and you're kind of like, okay, which really didn't have any point other than to introduce Anna Miller, which Lara dislikes instantly and kind of brushes off, and you get this kind of strained mother relationship, but then they don't really establish that in any other part of the film. Little comments here and there like, oh, thanks for being there or whatever, but you don't really get any of their backstory, why there's this tension, why she came. Oh, I cared about your father too. Everything seems kind of forced, and it's like, okay, I guess we'll accept it and moving on. So basically, they're kind of trying to show Laura slumming it, right? She's in her apartment, which is all just super cool, drinking her tea on the veranda or whatever. It doesn't look bad to me. Somebody who I grew up poor, wearing my brother's hand-me-down clothes as a girl, which was just so great. Picked on constantly. Life was a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun being poor Laura. We just really didn't get to see it. We got to see some flashbacks of you being really rich, and now you're purposefully choosing to slum it because I will not admit that my father has died, and I'm going to lose the house and all of his legacy because I just don't want to sign those papers. Okay. Now, if you're slumming it because you refuse to sign the papers because you are on this insane quest to prove that he is alive and to find him, has she been all these years searching for her lost father? No, she's been doing deliveries and kind of like boxing and like then why don't you do us all a favor and sign the papers, get the money, and then use that money to go on a real quest to find your father. This is where it kind of bothers me, where she finally does go to sign the papers, and it's not because her heart is finally broken. We see her crying and weeping on the floor, finally coming to terms with the acceptance. I've done everything I can. I've looked. He's dead, he's dead, he's dead. I have to weep, I have to grieve, I'm gonna sign these papers. No, she shows up kind of like, I guess I don't want to lose the house. We'll sign the papers. Oh, but wait, there's a box. And my dad used to leave these all around the house, which I guess is kind of a hint to how her dad trained her. I mean, the Tomb Raider I'm used to has had a lot more training than she has. I don't know what... We see her like practicing with a bow and arrow in one flashback, and then the puzzle boxes, but really there's no training that normally makes Lara Croft Lara Croft. Man, I would have liked to see that if this is an origin story, a slow-ass origin story like it seems to be. It would have been nice to see what makes her so brilliant and unique, which so far was nothing. So she finally goes to solve the mystery after almost signing the documents. And instead, like I said, of just signing the documents, when she opens the puzzle box and is like, oh my god, my dad may be alive, she could just sign the documents, take that money, and then go on a big official quest, hire some really cool people. We usually get that in other Tomb Raider films. She'll hire like a cool cast and they'll go on like an adventure, you know, like a quest. I'm like, oh, here begins the quest. She's like, no, I'm not gonna sign it. I'm like, okay, that's not the logical thing to do, but if it's some honor thing, but they really don't play up the honor thing. She's just like, yeah, no. And then she goes instead to sell, I wish she was wearing a necklace, her priceless necklace that her father gave her in childhood, linking their hearts together. Every time you think of me and hold this, I'll feel it. And we don't even really see her wearing it until she's kind of like, okay, I guess I'll sell this piece of your soul, like your father's soul. Like, if anything, I'm sure he'd rather have you sign the documents saying he's dead, because when you prove that he's alive, who cares? It's not like he's gonna care that you signed those, but he probably will care that you sold this priceless artifact he gave you in childhood, linking you two together, saying always wear this. And you know, it's just, so she sells that at a pawn shop, and then they haggle over money. She's like, 10,000. Oh no, wait, no. So here then enters Lou Ren, who's a nice guy who I guess kind of wants to find out what happened to his father. Oh, and his drinking problem isn't because of his tragic past of losing his father at a young age and maybe losing his boat that his father had with him, or any kind of relationship thing that would make us go, oh, Lou. Instead, his drinking problem is because he lost a poker game the night before, and he's like, so what's in your other boot? All right, that's fine. It's all these missed opportunities for really deep character development that will really pull our heartstrings. Just lost. As I'm watching, I'm like, lost, just through their hands. They should have grabbed onto those. They would have made for a more impactful ending, a more impactful movie all around. So finally, they're in the raging sea. We get some unbelievable scenes, like a life raft, and then she just dives into the water and swims. And then she wakes up, and boom, introduction to the main antagonist. Now, if you know anything about writing, your protagonist, your hero, is only as strong as your antagonist, your villain. So it's important to have a really amazing villain, because that's what's going to make your hero shine. I mean, ideally you would have done all the plot stuff I talked about before. You would have made her relatable. If she's going to be a slumdog, make her a slumdog with a heart of gold who's still searching for her dad, and she's getting beat up and all these things that would make us be like, damn, she's been on the bottom, she doesn't care about all the money, and she's doing this all for love, you know? But instead they didn't go that route. So then you introduce the villain. Okay, maybe he'll be dynamic, and that'll pull some more cool dynamic traits out of her that we haven't gotten to see yet, so we can finally start relating to our hero. Because like I said, a great villain will make the hero shine. And this actor who did the villain, Matthias Vogel, did a great job. I really liked his acting. I mean, I felt creeped out by him. I was like, ooh, creepy. And then he talks about, I always think there's gonna be an ear in there when she's eating the peaches, and I'm like, that was a good line. Like, that was creepy. He really gets that creepy vibe. And he talks about his daughters, and we think, okay, this guy has more going on. He's creepy, and he's severe, and he's vicious, but you know, there's this underlying want maybe about family. And this is all I'm thinking in my head. Okay, so they're gonna build that up. No. I mean, we see he's got pictures of his girls on his thing, but that's really it. He just kind of monotonely the rest of the film kills people and is like, I'm just gonna get this done because I want to go home. We're like, oh, you're as frustrated and bored with this film as we are then. Which is such a waste, because he had that really creepy vibe. Had we seen a little bit more vulnerability, a little more conflict, a little more juice from that peach can, had we seen more, it would have just been more. But we didn't. And then he drops the line, I killed your papa. I killed your father, Mufasa. You know, in the Lion King, that's that huge moment, and Simba just flips himself up. He's practically dead, but he just gets that moment of just like, fuck you. You killed my dad. I am going to, there's a few things. For me, as an audience member, when he reveals like, oh yeah, I killed your dad, I'm like, oh, she's gonna go Tomb Raider on you, like Lara Croft, like video games. Like I'm wanting to like press the A button and like, oh, I'm about to kick your ass, you know? Cause like, and then no, she doesn't really do anything. She doesn't do anything. What? I don't understand. If somebody said, I killed your dad, I will, with my bare hands, leap on them like, that person's dead. You're dead. Especially in the Croft universe. You killed my father? I got 2 guns, one for the both of ya. I wish she could have said that. That would have been great. But she didn't have her guns yet, but she had her elbows and her fists, and she didn't really do anything. She was kind of scared a lot of the movie. I'm not gonna sit idly by. Like, I'm gonna open a can of, not peaches, I'm gonna open a can of, like, so embarrassed to say this phrase. Open a can of whoop ass. Yeah, sorry. That wasn't believable to me. Her reaction when she finds out he killed her father. And then, ta-da-da, not too long after, Dad's alive! And she hooks up with her real dad, and it's not as touching of a reunion as we think, because Dad's a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, which we give him. We want Laura to be understanding as the audience. We're like, dude, he's crazy because he's not wrong. That there actually is some kind of ancient hell demon woman that will unleash a plague on all of the world. Like, and she's messing with him. She's sending him visions, and she's, you know, all this chanting and all this creepy stuff. Like, that's real, Laura. He's not crazy. Except, cut to the end where, yeah, he's just crazy. But anyway, at this point, we're kind of rooting for her understanding, but they don't have as much of a touching reunion as we think. And then she kind of goes off, and he goes off, and they kind of get pushed together, and they're gonna go into the tomb. And I'm thinking, finally. I am a huge fan of the Indiana Jones movies. When I was a kid and I saw those for the first time, I wanted to be with Indiana Jones, and I wanted to be him at the same time. Like, let's just couple quest all these things together. And so when I saw them entering the tomb, father and daughter, I was like, oh my God, finally an Indiana Jones for the ladies. We're gonna have that father and daughter genius archaeologist solving puzzles thing that we had in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. It's one of my favorite Indiana Jones films. Sean Connery and you know, Indy. What's the actor's name? I always just call him Indy in my brain. Even when I saw him in the Star Wars films, I was just like, Indy. Harrison Ford. Right, Harrison Ford, Sean Connery. And then what I loved about that film is that you get this sort of friction. You see their backstory. You see how he was driven into archaeology, Sean Connery, and there was a bit of neglect of his, a lot of neglect of his son, but you see their relationship and the admiration, and then they have this thing, and they have that similar thing, like, I have my father's book. And in The Last Crusade, Indiana Jones has his father's book, and you see the brilliance of the two men and also the dynamics of their relationship together, and that gets to play out in the temple, you know, and you've got these brilliant minds, and then you have the main villains use their relationship against each other. Same setup, same premise. Except we like the father and son and their relationship and banter together, and ultimately how Indy's love for his father trumps their differences. And that's a huge bonding moment where you see that no matter what has happened in the past, that he's still going to do this thing for the love of his dad. And we really don't get that in the Tomb Raider film. We get her disbelieving him to the end. The main villain, Matthias, doesn't do what they do in the Indiana Jones films. This is like, we need to keep one of these geniuses alive to help us solve this really difficult puzzles. And we also need this book. Matthias is kind of like, I could kill either of them. I guess I'll keep this book, but they really don't use it through the temple. And when they get into the temple, it's not like, okay, finally we're gonna see some genius action. There's like, maybe they're all kind of fumbling around. Oh, maybe we shouldn't have stepped on this. And there's no real chance where you get to see their brilliance. There's like that one puzzle where she's like, green, the color green. And the father doesn't really help. And I've solved harder puzzles playing Zelda. I was just like, where's all the puzzles at? Where's the chance to see their joint brilliance and how well they work together and this father and daughter relationship? It just didn't happen. Watch Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade if you haven't. I mean, if you haven't watched Indiana Jones movies, just, what are you doing? They're amazing. They're old school, but they're amazing. I love the Indiana Jones films. But The Last Crusade is basically what this could have paralleled. And it would have been amazing, heartwarming at the end and everything, but they did not do that. So, in fact, at the end, the main antagonist is just like complaining the whole time, like, you're superstitious, that was just air pressure. And we're thinking, oh, wait for it, because it is gonna be evil and it is gonna be, oh no, it's actually not. It is just a plague, which Laura figures out like 2 seconds before the main guy gets infected, which doesn't really make us impressed with her. And it also means that the dad is just cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, for not realizing, yeah, she was just a carrier and it was a plague the whole time. No biggie. Nothing superstitious, nothing the mummy, nothing particularly superhero fantastical about it. Just a plague. And then that leads to the main end fight scenes where Laura runs off, leaving her dad behind with Matthias getting shot at. That's a hero for you. And then she hides in the catacombs, and she's not hiding like watching him, planning to like leap down and like kick his ass like Angelina Jolie probably would have done. No, she's just hiding in there, getting really grossed out by the mummy. And then her legs are grabbed. I'm like, yeah, okay, okay. And then she finally goes back to her dad, who's been infected, his arm's infected. And does she Brad Pitt World War Z style take that axe chopper thing and just lop off his arm and is like, better to lose an arm than to lose you, Dad. Because that's what I was thinking, was like, just cut off his arm, tie it off, and drag him out of there. That's your dad. But she's just like, peace out. Aw, lame. Lame. El Pasión, where's the passion? And then you have the end-to-end fight scene where she kicks off the ladder, screwing them both from leaving. And I was kind of like, why? I mean, shouldn't you try to fight him first and then get out and then kick the ladder? Okay. Also that she can do that crazy jump when the temple is crumbling down, and so that Lou can pull her out because he waited, which I think is cool that he waited, but along with all the other people who've been tortured and enslaved, like, what skin do they have in the game? Why do they care about Laura? They're like, oh, we'll wait around too. Your father saved our lives. Like, when? When did they mention that? When did they establish that his father had some kind of key role in them escaping? Because they didn't escape, they're still there, but I guess if you want a group randomly, ta-da! And then they're off in the helicopter and she decides, okay, I can sign the papers. And it's not with this sort of resolution of heartbreak. It's sort of, well, I did that, now I know what's happened, now I know everything, I guess I'm gonna sign these, and hey, Anna, you can go ahead and keep responsibility of the day-to-day stuff, I'm not good at that. Crying, maybe? Banging head, maybe some kind of feeling that you have to now do the one thing that you didn't want to do through the whole movie, which was admit that your dad was dead. But maybe since he was kind of crazy, she's okay with it now? No. And what kind of moron doesn't read the contract? She's like, I trust you, and I'm gonna read it. Oh my god, I gave away power of attorney. Oh my god. I mean, the father makes the reference like, did you go to Oxford or Harvard? I'm like, neither. She dumb. And she's like, neither. I'm like, no. Maybe my favorite line that she's worth 10 of him is not as accurate. I just like the line in general. So that leaves us to the end, where she has that big realization that Anna Miller is maybe the main villain and part of Trinity. And had they established some sort of relationship between the two, maybe I would have cared. Like in Unbreakable, when you find out that he's the main villain, at least for me, I was like, oh no, your best friend, like at least a friend that like got you realizing who you really are as a person. It was such a great villain reveal for me, and I love that. Like, who is the ultimate villain? Not Matthias, but the one above him. Oh, it's me. And she's about as shocked as we are. She like thinks about it and then she's like, well, I got things to do. And I'm like, yeah, so do we. Better things to do than to sit and watch another one of these films. So that's enough of my talking. That's the whole kind of general review. I was pretty, as you may have been able to tell, I was pretty disappointed with the film. They could have done a lot of things and this film would have been amazing. You have to establish a strong base of character for us to follow that character through the rest of the film willingly. Off of all the cliffs she jumped, we would actually care if she fell to her death. Developing character relationships, a backstory to the main villain, making him more dynamic, also would have helped the film. Having the father and daughter relationship be more dynamic, having him not be crazy, maybe be right, having them have a turnaround where you see their relationship finally mends, or some kind of connection, seeing the severity of care in the relationship. All in all, just needed more depth. It had a lot of the shallow points that logically make an entertaining film, but they didn't have the support underneath for that ship to sail gloriously off into Tomb Raider history. And I get it, a lot of these superhero films aren't particularly deep. You know, they're like bam, 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 sad, 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 happy, 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 ending. But, you know, I mean, as far as Thor goes, I really like Loki. You know, they establish his charred relationship with his father figure and his want to prove himself in the first film. And he's got enough personality to carry some of the weaker plots in the other films, the other Thor films. I do like Ragnarok. I don't know why I'm bringing that up. It was fun and cheeky and sassy. If you're not gonna have the depth and it's gonna be light, then you have to do light really well. You've got to have humor and yeah, this is silly and we're all on this adventure ride, but it's also fantastical. You gotta have the other perks if you're not gonna go deep. If you're not gonna be unbreakable and you're gonna go on the top, then you need the stuff like Ragnarok, more fun and all of that. Although the first Iron Man, you know, he's a jerk, but then he like gets kidnapped and then he's seeing that his own weapons are being used for all these horrible things, and then his heart is like ripped out. And I mean, I really liked the first Iron Man. Because you can do that in superhero films. And I love superhero films. I have since I was a little girl. Batman, Superman, Iron Man, Thor, Wonder Woman. Give it all to me. And I will go see a bad superhero film any day of the week. I'll go see it. And even this, a part of me enjoyed it while it was happening. So I was like, I still like kind of superhero films. But there's just a lot you can do with a superhero film. So please do it next time. Anyway, thanks for listening to me rant. I promise I will get better at these reviews. I'm going to try and do them more frequently. I'm inspired by a guy who does reviews, and I saw his stuff and some of my other friends started, and I thought this is something I wanted to do for a while. So first one, thanks for watching, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Live long and prosper.